Have you ever caught it? That strange heaviness in your chest. Not sharp, not screaming, just lingering in the background. Just off. Like your spirit whispers before your mind can make sense of it. You try to dismiss it, blame it on stress, exhaustion, or maybe your own overthinking. But beneath it all, a deeper part of you already knows. Because the soul doesn't lie. Dan never saw another man's name pop up boldly on her phone. He never caught obvious messages or proof that she was stepping out. What he noticed instead was quieter, harder to prove. The way her eyes no longer lingered when he spoke. The way her laugh seemed reserved for someone else. She was there, but not really. And that absence spoke louder than any confession ever could. Dan didn't need evidence on paper. He felt the fracture in his body before his mind dared to name it. And maybe you've felt it too, that invisible shift, the hollow space that grows between you and a woman who once reached for you without hesitation. That's why in this video, we're going to uncover the 5 clear signs she's cheating. The kind of signs that appear not in her words, but in the energy she can't disguise. Because the truth is, your intuition is wiser than her excuses. See, cheating rarely announces itself with loud evidence. It's not always lipstick, strange texts, or someone slipping up. Most times it starts quietly. It shows up in the energy, in the small changes, in the way she moves around you without realizing it. And if you're paying attention, you'll notice the shift long before the truth comes out. So let's break down the first clear sign. 1. Her energy feels different. Dan's story. Dan had been with his wife for 5 years. On paper, their marriage looked solid. She still kissed him goodbye in the mornings, still joined him at family events, still wore her ring proudly. To anyone looking from the outside, there were no cracks. But Dan felt something before he could ever prove it. It wasn't obvious. It wasn't lipstick, strange texts, or coming home late. It was subtle. It lived in the small moments that no one else noticed, but he couldn't ignore. Her touch had changed. Where she once reached for his hand without thinking, now she kept them tucked away. When he leaned in to kiss her, she kissed back, but it felt mechanical, like a routine, not desire. Her laugh, once full and alive, now sounded hollow, forced. It was like living with the same person, but feeling their spirit slipping away. She was present in the room, but her energy wasn't with him anymore. At night, Dan would lie awake, staring at the ceiling, trying to rationalize. She's just stressed from work. Maybe I'm imagining it. Maybe I'm overthinking. But the body doesn't lie. His chest grew tight every time she checked her phone mid-conversation. His stomach dropped when her eyes darted away too quickly. Even when she smiled, it didn't reach her eyes anymore. Weeks later, the truth came out. She had been seeing another man. And as painful as it was, Dan realized he already knew. His instincts had been screaming the truth long before he ever saw the evidence. Here's the lesson. When a woman's heart starts to drift, the first betrayal is not in her words or her actions. It's in her energy. Her warmth disappears before the lies ever begin. That's why so many men miss it. They're waiting for physical proof, when the proof has been in front of them the whole time. So if you're sitting with that uneasy feeling right now, if you feel her pulling away, if her energy feels different, you don't need to gaslight yourself into silence. Pay attention. Because once her energy changes, it's only a matter of time before the truth follows. 2. Her routine starts to shift. James' story. James had always admired his girlfriend's consistency. She was structured, reliable, and her schedule was almost like clockwork. Work at 9. Gym on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Dinner together on Fridays at the same little Italian place they both loved. Her rhythm made him feel secure. But slowly things started changing. First, it was working late. At first, James didn't think much of it. Everyone has long days sometimes. But then the excuses became more frequent. The gym nights that had always been fixed started shifting around. Her phone, which she used to leave on the counter without a thought, was now always within arm's reach, face down. One Friday night, James decided to surprise her. He made a reservation at their spot, the restaurant they used to laugh in, the place where they'd made so many memories. When he told her, she didn't light up the way she used to. Instead, she said flatly, "I already ate with a friend." No hesitation, no apology, no thought about what that moment meant to him. It wasn't about the food. It was about the shift in priorities. She wasn't carving out space for him anymore. He was no longer at the center of her schedule. He was being quietly pushed to the edges. And that's how cheating usually begins. Not with a scandal, not with a dramatic scene, but with stolen time. The hours once spent with you start getting redirected somewhere else. The truth is, people show their loyalty with their actions, not their excuses. When she begins rearranging her life in ways that exclude you, when her routine changes without clear reason, it's often the first sign that her heart and her attention are invested elsewhere. 3. Her emotional availability fades. Michael's story. Michael could deal with arguments. He could handle stress. What he couldn't handle was the silence, the slow, creeping indifference that began taking over his relationship. His girlfriend was still around physically. She sat next to him on the couch, nodded when he spoke, even smiled from time to time. But emotionally, she was somewhere else. He felt it every time he tried to connect, and she gave him nothing but short replies, distracted nods, or empty words. There was a time when Michael could share his wins, when she would celebrate him, encourage him, brag about him to her friends. Now, when he told her good news, all he got was, "That's nice," before her eyes drifted back to her phone. He found himself talking more, trying harder, over-explaining, hoping to reignite the spark. But the more he tried to pull her closer, the further she pulled away. It was like talking through glass. He could see her, but he couldn't reach her. Here's the hard truth. When a woman starts investing her emotions somewhere else, you will feel it. She may still be in the room, but she won't truly be with you. Her passion, her attention, her enthusiasm, they're being given to someone else. Michael eventually discovered the truth. But long before that, he had already felt the distance. Emotional absence is never random. When someone stops showing up for you in spirit, it's because their spirit is already being shared somewhere else. For intimacy fades. David's story. David remembered when affection came easily. His wife used to grab his arm in public, kiss him on the cheek for no reason, tease him just to make him laugh. The bedroom had been alive with passion, warmth, and connection. But over time, the little things disappeared. The playful teasing stopped. The forehead kisses became rare. The casual touches vanished. And in bed, things grew mechanical, if they happened at all. One night, David slid closer to her as she lay beside him. Without a word, she shifted slightly away. To anyone else, it would have looked like nothing. But to David, it was everything. It was confirmation of the distance he had been feeling for months. Intimacy doesn't die in a single moment. It unravels thread by thread. And when the small gestures of affection are gone, when passion turns into routine, it usually means something deeper has changed. Desire doesn't vanish into thin air, it gets redirected. And for David, it became painfully clear that the intimacy that once belonged to him was now being invested elsewhere. The truth is, a woman who still loves you will show it in the smallest ways. When those disappear, it's rarely an accident. It's a sign her attention and her desire are no longer yours. 5. Your gut won't stay quiet. Chris' story. Chris couldn't shake the feeling. It wasn't loud. It wasn't obvious. But it was constant, like a quiet whisper he couldn't silence. His girlfriend still smiled, still said the right words, still kept up appearances. But every time her phone buzzed, he noticed the way she shielded the screen. Every time she laughed at a text she didn't share, his stomach tightened. He told himself he was paranoid. He told himself he was overthinking. He didn't want to be that guy, jealous, insecure, controlling. So he buried the feeling, night after night. But no matter how much he tried to rationalize it, his body knew what his mind refused to admit. One evening, as she rushed out for yet another late meeting, Chris stood in the quiet of his apartment and finally admitted the truth. His gut had been screaming the reality all along. Months later, when he finally had undeniable proof, the pain was sharp, but it wasn't surprising. Deep down, he had always known. That's the final sign men need to understand. Your intuition isn't paranoia, it's protection. Your gut isn't lying to you. It's collecting signals your conscious mind hasn't put together yet. When something feels off, it usually is. The real betrayal isn't when she cheats. It's when you betray yourself by ignoring what you already know. Here's the truth, brother. Cheating rarely announces itself with lipstick stains, mysterious phone numbers, or dramatic discoveries. It's almost never that obvious at first. Instead, it shows up quietly. In Dan's case, it was the shift in her energy. For James, it was the sudden changes in her routine. Michael felt it in the fading of her emotional presence. David noticed it when intimacy slowly unraveled. And Chris? He carried the heavy weight of intuition that refused to stay silent. Different men. Different stories. But the lesson is the same. When a woman begins giving herself to someone else, you'll feel it before you ever see it. The mistake too many men make is waiting for undeniable proof, texts, photos, confessions. But by the time that proof arrives, the damage has already been done. The real question is not, is she cheating? The real question is, do you trust yourself enough to act when you feel something is wrong? Because your gut isn't paranoia. It's your most ancient compass. Your energy picks up on shifts long before your mind puts the pieces together. Ignore it, and you betray yourself. Trust it, and you protect your peace. So here's my advice to you. Stop second-guessing. Stop rationalizing. Stop silencing that inner voice that keeps you awake at night. If something feels off, it usually is. And the sooner you honor that truth, the sooner you reclaim your power. Remember this. A man's greatest strength is not in how long he tolerates disrespect. It's in how quickly he recognizes it and chooses himself. If this message hit home, then subscribe to this channel right now. Because here, we don't just expose the games women play. We teach men how to recognize the signs, protect their dignity, and step into relationships with confidence and power. Your gut already knows the truth. The only question left is, what are you going to do about it?